Hey, what's going on, everybody? So the Hurricanes wrapped up their 8th spring practice right at the midway point of the spring, 15 practices in total. They're going to have their first spring scrimmage on Saturday. It's going to be closed. We're not going to be able to be out there or do interviews or get comments from Coach Cristobal afterwards to hear how it went from his perspective, but hopefully we'll be able to get that as soon as possible. It's going to be a huge recruiting weekend, so that's always good. Hopefully the guys do well. There's certain players that I'm curious to see how they do or hear how they do, since we're not going to be able to be out there and actually watch it. But I was able to watch practice today, so that's good. 5 periods in total. It's cut back a little bit. If you've been following, it was 7 periods and 6, now just 5, but it's okay. It's good. We're able to see some one-on-one stuff. I always like watching the defensive backs against the receivers and tight ends, and I have a full rundown that I will get to with that. But before I get into that, Coach Cristobal did speak after practice, and he did point out a few players that are doing really well. It doesn't surprise me to hear these names because, again, the times I've been out there, I've mentioned some of these guys that he mentioned. But one of the things that I really noticed right when I walked in, again, it starts quick. They're already underway with their drills. They don't wait for us to get in there. So you kind of have to look around immediately because we're only able to film 2 periods of practice, able to watch 5. But the very first thing that I watched was the defensive guys going through it, the linebackers and defensive linemen going through the drills, and I immediately noticed Francisco Mauino, and this was the first time that I've seen him out there. And you had to watch for him really quickly because I only saw him go through that first period and I didn't see him participate in the position drills after that. But it was just good seeing him out there. As you know, he had left shoulder surgery in the off season for a torn labrum. So just having him out there is a good sign. Hopefully he can kind of continue to do more and more drills. Maybe he won't get into some full contact stuff by the end of spring, but I think just his presence being out there will help the younger guys. There's a lot of linebackers, a lot of young guys, first and second year guys that are trying to make a name for themselves. And I think with seeing how he goes through drills, they're able to ask questions while in practice. I think that could be beneficial for the young players. You know, another injured guy that's come back and participated in drills that's, you know, someone I've been paying attention to that's cornerback Damari Brown. I know I've seen the comments. Many of you are curious how he's doing. The one thing that's interesting with him, I've been watching him go through drills. He does actually do more than Kiko there, but he'll go through the position drills. However, I've not seen him go through one-on-ones during that one-on-one portion. So it looks like he's still a little bit limited. And hopefully he's able to get some one-on-one action at some point during the spring. Again, only 7 practices left. You're gonna go 2 scrimmages, I think, on the next 2 Saturdays, and then the spring game on the 13th. So it's really winding down for some of these guys just to get some good reps, some of these injured guys to come back. But that's something I think Damari, you know, and watching Chavis Jackson kind of teach these guys. I touched on the quarterback position. I've been watching them quite a bit, just because they're able to come close to where we are able to be on the sidelines. That's why I've been talking about the quarterbacks quite a bit. But also, I was able to kind of hear what Coach Jackson had to say, you know, and he was really teaching these guys. He was getting a little frustrated, as all position coaches do at certain times. But I think just his instructions of what he wants from his cornerbacks. Again, he's coaching the cornerbacks. Coach Guidry's still working with the safeties, and oftentimes the drills are split up, where safeties are working on one thing and corners are working on another. Before I get into one-on-ones with Coach Cristobal, his comments, he had a couple things to say that really stood out to me, starting with, he was asked about tight end Elijah Lofton, the freshman out of Bishop Gorman there in Las Vegas, and we're seeing him make a lot of plays. There's no doubt about it. Does really well on one-on-ones. I touched on it last video. You know, he's a guy that's gotten some carries and some inside run stuff. But you know, when you ask a coach about a guy, typically will say good things. But what stood out to me was he compared him to a year ago with freshmen Ruben Bain and Francis Mauino. And we know those 2 guys had really good freshman years, especially Bain with what he was able to put together, earning ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. And he said it reminds him of those guys. And to me, that's kind of surprising because of the guys in front of him, and they just think really highly of him. I think with Ruben, we definitely knew he was going to have a key role, and he did, and he produced. And then with Francis stepping in as a starter there at right tackle, that wasn't a surprise. And both those guys were highly regarded, and Lofton wasn't, you know, good recruit, no doubt about it, but not that upper echelon guy that you would just expect to make an immediate impact. So good, high praise from Lofton, good IQ, making plays. His teammates have really gravitated to his playmaking ability, so that's good to hear and good to see from him. The other thing that Coach Cristobal had to say was Trevante Citizen, the running back. I know many of you have been waiting. It's been 2 years. We've not seen him on the field because of the knee injuries. but we've seen him out there during spring ball, and he's one of those guys I definitely want to see go against contact, how he performs. and just see how he produces at that running back spot. Mark Fletcher, the projected starter as of now. I touched on a running back. I think they will definitely try their best to get a high-quality running back into the mix in the spring-summer transfer window. But this is a great opportunity for Javonte with Mark down with the injury all spring. This is a great opportunity for Javonte to really show what he can do, really earn himself a role in the spring that they can really rely on him in the fall. Also, A.J. Allen, not seeing him out here as well. And A.J. we know is a guy that really contributed last year as well. And Javonte is a guy that Coach Cristobal said he felt like the 8th practice, the Thursday practice there, felt like he really turned the corner, felt like he turned the page and maybe something clicked, what was his word. So definitely stay tuned. I'm really looking for, once we hear that, we want to see what it looks like there these next couple weeks, especially in the spring game, as he'll be a key guy to watch for, as you want to see him produce, and hopefully he does well. Okay, let's get on into some one-on-ones. Again, wide receivers, defensive backs, and the tight ends involved as well. And I definitely have been talking about this quite a bit, and I will focus on the defensive side of the ball, and I've been posting videos on it and have some thoughts on that, but this is what I've been able to watch, and I know it's a lot of offensive stuff, but let's get right into it. It first started off, it basically 9 reps, so it's split up. They got 5 with Cam Ward there at quarterback, and then Reese Poffenbarker there had the other 4. And that was from the 40, then they go inside the 4. But let's start with the 40, the 9 reps here. And this is something I do want to mention. What I've been noticing is it's pretty much the same one-on-one combinations, same receiver against the same defensive back, pretty much all spring now that I've been seeing it multiple times. So you're not surprised. I'm a little surprised that they continue to do this. You'd like to see a little bit more of a mix. I'm surprised that they don't, but this is what they do. So again, not surprised, 2 versus 2. So you got Isaiah Horton, starts it off with going against Daryl Porter, which I do want to mention in case you see the videos. Some players didn't have numbers on their jersey, and if you saw a new practice jersey that they're wearing, this is what happens from time to time. It's happened in the past, but sometimes certain players will wear a practice jersey, not for this particular season, but maybe a future season to test it out for different reasons. And I think there were about 10 guys or so that were doing this, and that's why they don't have numbers. But it was number 2. It was Daryl Porter, just knowing him, but he did not have the 2 on his jersey. But first one goes incomplete. They run it back. That's why he got 5 reps with Cam there. So they go 2v2 again, and this time, Daryl was off coverage, and Isaiah just beat him on an inside slant. So good catch there. The next play, this was a big one. It happened early on, and sometimes you get these wow moments, but Elijah Arroyo goes one-on-one against safety Markeith Williams, and Elijah pushed him right off the line of scrimmage. Bigger guy, no doubt about it, but he really shoved him, and Markeith fell down and made a nice catch, and a lot of people watching we're really excited about that play. And I do want to mention there were a lot of people at practice. A lot of youth teams in the community were there. A lot of kids were out there, and they stayed after practice, throwing the ball around. Cam Ward was the guy that after practice was working with Isaiah, throwing some extra passes, but he also got involved with some of the kids as well. So just kind of good to see good camaraderie. And Cam, some people came up to Cam too, kind of all smiles, and kind of what seemed like he was enjoying meeting some Miami fans there. Okay, back to one-on-ones. Xavier Restrepo, there's no doubt about it. Ask me who's been the best at one-on-ones, offense or defense, during spring ball. Without question, it's Xavier Restrepo. Again, a huge day, big performance on these one-on-ones. You'll hear why, but it's interesting watching him. And again, it's not just getting open. He goes against Michelle Powell there. It's not just getting open, but sometimes he's not all the way open. And this is what stands out to me. So again, I'm right there on the sideline. The ball's coming right towards me. I'm watching the whole play develop, and I'm looking like, okay, surely he's not going to catch this one. And he does. It's in traffic. It's a 40-yard touchdown. There's not much room. Powell with good coverage. But Xavier just has such a knack for finding the ball. I just think it's really impressive to me to see the jump that he's made. Big year last year, no doubt about it, but he just looks even better this year. He's been their best wide receiver in practices. When we're watching these drills, there's no doubt about it. Clearly looks like a guy going into his senior year, as opposed to some of these other receivers. Talented, but you can tell they're younger. Xavier just is playing with a lot of confidence and producing a lot of results, which is great to see. A lot of fans should be excited about him. To think what he did last year, it's hard to say if the numbers are actually going to improve because the numbers were so good, but he could still be better and the numbers not quite be there, if that makes sense. That kind of sometimes at wide receiver that can happen. I do think if we're talking about a number, I think a number that he could excel in and actually be better than a year ago was the touchdowns. He had 6 a year ago. It's hard for wide receivers to get more than that, but I would say at this point, I think he's going to. I think he's definitely going to do that. Again, nice catch in traffic against a bigger pal, and he just has a really good knack for finding the ball, especially right there as it lands right in his hands there. So with that touchdown, follows up next play, going to Jacoby George, another 40-yard touchdown pass from Cam Ward. This one kind of goes over the top, kind of just runs down the sideline. Jacoby over Jadis Richard. Nice catch by Jacoby there. So here we go with that second unit. Reese up there, Poffenbarger, starting with Shamar Kirk, gets a catch on Demetrius Franey. Second rep, Riley Williams. It looked like he was open, but a nice pass breakup by Jaden Harris there. Got his hand fully extended, did a really good job of breaking up that pass, made it look easy there. Speaking of making it look easy, on rep number 3, Ray Joseph. This is one of those guys that I want to see go against a better, more quality cornerback, and he's going against a walk-on, and he tends to beat him essentially every practice for a touchdown during one-on-ones. Again, no surprise here. So 40-yard touchdown makes it look easy. Kind of just runs right by him and comes down with the catch. So that's good to see there. And then the last rep by Poffenbarger goes deep once again, tries to get in the end zone to Nye Carr, who I've touched on quite a bit. But this time, Miles Muyong, that's the battle we've seen in the spring. Miles Muyong gets up, has a nice pass break up there to bat it down. So a good couple plays by the defensive backs, good to see, but the wide receivers are getting touchdowns. So kind of a mix there with these first 9 reps. So after that, now they move to the 4-yard line. Each quarterback will now get 2 reps, and then they'll set it at the 4, like I said, and then they'll go 2v2. 2 receivers versus 2 defensive backs. They stay on the same side of the field, and they kind of work different routes to try to get in the end zone. Starts off with the incompletion by Jakari Brown, but then he follows it up with a touchdown pass to Xavier Restrepo. Again, good footwork inside the red zone. Just another impressive touchdown for Xavier, just doing well here. Now they go back to Cam Ward. And this one was a nice touchdown, by Isaiah Horton. Really used good leverage on the inside slant, uses his size to get good position. And this is something that I think that Miami definitely could benefit to improve their red zone marks from a year ago. I think if Isaiah Horton can use his size, it's not just a jump ball step, which I think he can do, but just getting some inside leverage, some good positioning with his size to really block out, in a sense, the defensive back. And we saw it here in practice, so hopefully that'll be something that maybe he can work towards. Really get good footwork out of his breaks off the line of scrimmage, and then use some good physical hand work there to get open and definitely finish off the play. You're always going to have guys on you inside the red zone, almost always, and Isaiah's a guy that I think can score touchdowns inside the red zone. Again, not just the jump balls, the fades that we're talking about that you see all the time, which you definitely think is great as a taller receiver, a guy with good athleticism, but I think just being able to use his size in different ways will certainly help. And then the next rep by Cam just falls incomplete to Jacoby George there. Then going to Reese, nice touchdown to Riley Williams, good to see there, but then follows it up in incompletion to Nye Carr. So as you're seeing, quarterbacks kind of hit or miss during the red zone. I'd like for him to go 2 for 2. But it hasn't happened yet. Now Emory Williams gets some reps here. It's a PI there on Darryl Porter or a holding call, but either way it was a penalty trying to guard JoJo Trader, and then also follows it up again. Doesn't complete it there, but draws the penalty, and then he follows it up with a touchdown again. Just with Ray Joseph just handling business against a walk-on there. Back to Cam Ward. Again, drew another penalty as Aquan Patterson was flagged for the call, trying to guard Elijah Arroyo. Once again, another guy trying to use his size to his advantage in the red zone there. Then another incompletion, and this was very good coverage by Jadis Richard on Jacoby George. Good to see. Again, Jadis has been kind of up and down. He's been kind of beat on some plays. He's had some tough reps in spring ball, but a guy that they definitely want to count on because he is a big corner, and they definitely want to have that. They definitely have spots open there in the secondary, especially at cornerback, and they definitely would like to see Jadis kind of really step up into that role after being here last year. And a couple incompletions by Jakari Brown. Good coverage on both defensive backs here. Demetrius Franey, guarding Kirk, does a good job in his coverage there. And then Isaiah Taylor steps up and guards Ray Joseph and has good coverage as well, kind of forces an incompletion there. A fourth good rep by defensive back. This time it's Savion Riley with a pass break up there with Reese at quarterback. So that was good to see. And then once again, Xavier Restrepo gets a touchdown, really working against Michelle Powell, and he's just every rep just certainly feels like a threat to score every time or get a catch. He just seems very hard to guard. And once again, I would like to see him go against other corners, because I think just maybe different guys, different looks, it would be good for both, you know, to kind of mix it up a little bit there. But they do, just like Powell in the slot, that's why he goes up against Xavier so much. Last 2 reps, want to get to this. Cam Ward threw a touchdown pass. It looked like a catch. I thought it was a one-handed catch. A really nice play there to Isaiah Horton with Porter in coverage, and then it finishes up with a pass breakup by Riley once again, and then finishes up with another pass breakup on Miles Mouillon guard and Nycar. So that wraps it up. Definitely appreciate everybody for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend. Looking forward to being back out at practice. Only 7 more left. So thanks again for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, good weekend, and take care.